The James Show Podcast.
But let's take another look at the big, beautiful bill. Kathy DeWitt from DeWitt and Dunn is joining me now on the James Show. You can find her financial show on the weekends here on WBAP, Sundays at 11 and at 4 p.m. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. Wow, what an interesting day it's been with this big, beautiful bill.
I know. I assumed it would go through because, you know, one of the most popular parts of this bill that both sides of the Team Elon and Team Trump battle that we both like is extending the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, which doesn't really change our tax rates. It just prevents them from going up. But that really affects everybody listening.
It really does. And if you take a look, I mean, it's 887 pages. I mean, what an amazing budget packet that is. There's going to be a lot of things to go through on that. I'm
not reading all that, Kathy.
You know what? I'll help you out. I think I read most of it today.
Really? Any surprises in there?
Well, I finally think that some people are going to be pretty thrilled to see that that with the tax breaks that Trump has campaigned, you know, when he was out before he was elected, that there'd be no taxes on tips, overtime pay, as well as the ability potentially to deduct interest payments on auto loans. And there's some deductions for people over the age of 65 and older who earn less than $75,000 a year. So I see that there's going to be some really good benefits. And also it's going to help him keep some of his campaign promises.
Well, Kathy DeWitt, let me play a quick segment here from Milton Friedman. This is a 30-second soundbite, but I'm trying to get the average person to understand that while I like the tax cuts being extended, it's the inflation, it's the overspending, it's the debt, the deficit, and the inflation of the money supply that concerned me. Because if we have, you know, a 5% tax cut, but 10% inflation, we're taking one step forward and two steps back. But I'm going to play this for everybody and then get your reaction to it, Kathy.
The real tax on the American people is what government spends. If the federal government spends $450 billion and only raises $400 billion in taxes, who do you suppose who pays that other $50 billion? Do you suppose the tooth fairy does? Inflation is, from this point of view, a form of taxation. If government spends more than it takes in, it has to meet the difference, either by printing money or by borrowing from the public at large.
Kathy DeWitt and Dunn, your response.
Well, I have to kind of agree with him on that because, I mean, we have to get the money from somewhere. And inflation numbers, you know, there's a lot that he just really said. And if you take a look at the tax cuts, I mean, it's what, $4.5 trillion. But what about the $3 trillion the bill's expected to add to the national deficit? So there's a lot of unknowns here, but it does sound like that we're having some tax cuts. They're the priority, but with that is coming additional debt.
Well, you know, you're a person who helps people with their finances, and right now would be a scary time to retire because in the last 5 years, we all just experienced 25% inflation. We all got a 25% pay cut, basically, all other things being equal. And if you retire right now and you get another round of this in the next 5 years, you will have lost half of your spending power in a decade. And how do you retire under those circumstances?
Well, you got to sit down with somebody and put a plan in place. But I can tell you that the interest rate environment that we're still in, because interest rates haven't been reduced, there's a lot of great fixed income solutions out there for people that are looking to retire soon or in retirement. So you have to take advantage of what's happening in the marketplace right now. And you can't be scared about what's going to happen in the future because we can only control what we have today.
All right, Kathy DeWitt and Dunn, what's coming up on your radio show this weekend?
Oh, we're going to be talking about interest rates. That's the great news is that we still have some great interest rates, fixed income, guaranteed lifetime income, what to do if you're thinking about retirement. And if you have a pension, some things that you need to think about as well. So we'll be talking specifically about people that are approaching retirement. And there's a bunch of people here in DFW that are getting ready to retire.
Yeah, I remember for almost a decade there, your return, whether it was your savings account or an annuity or even getting a mortgage, the interest rates were just dog water. They were nothing. Now we have a little bit of a spike, but, you know, Trump's pressing Powell to slam the interest rates back down to next to nothing again. So this might just be a little oasis of opportunity here.
I will tell you right now, that is so true. I mean, and obviously the fixed rates are subject to change without notice, but I mean, we have fixed rates as high as 5.6% for 5, 7, and 10 years. I mean, you better take advantage of that now before interest rates get reduced, because things happen quickly overnight. And that is a great, outstanding rate. So there's a lot of great opportunities. But, I always say opportunity may be knocking, but you need to open up the door.
Yeah, it sounds like a song somewhere. But Kathy DeWitt from DeWitt & Dunn. You can find her financial services at DeWittandDunn.com. You can find her radio show on the weekends here on WBAP twice on Sunday, 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. For more info on that, WBAP.com. I got a couple of good calls here on the big, beautiful bill topic. And I really appreciate this because in many ways, I feel like the discussions we're having on here are far more helpful and civilized, dare I say, than a lot of what you see on TV. So thanks for being a part of that. This is Bill and Garland. You're on WBAP. Your thoughts on the BBB?
The problem is the guys we've got in Congress. Let me ask you a question. There are 435 representatives elected every 2 years. How many of those seats are actually competitive?
Oh, well, define competitive. On a good year for turnover, and by good, I mean a lot. Like, I think it was Obama's first midterm. We had the biggest turnover in the House, I think, in our lifetime. And I think 80% of the incumbents won. So I think the stretch would be 20% of those seats are up for grabs.
10 to 20%. So we're voting on 10%, which is 400 or 443 and 86.
Well, no, let me back you up there. But the problem isn't that we only get a chance to flip 20 seats. The solution there is the primary process. So we got to knock out some of the incumbents in the primary process, and we've never taken that serious.
Well, that's the problem, though. The primaries are rigged. And what aren't rigged or gerrymandered so bad. There was a district in North Carolina that there were 3 cities in a row. One was red, one was blue, and one was red. And they ran the district down a railroad track so it could connect to this other city. So it would guarantee a win for whoever it was, Republican or Democrat.
Well, both parties love that. I know
they do.
Even where it looks like, hey, you're solidifying a Democrat seat. The way they drew Jasmine Crockett's district. That's going to be a Democrat no matter who gets out of the primary. But the Democrats like that. Neither party wants to have contested seats. Neither party wants to have to spend a whole lot on advertising. They want the incumbency, calcification process to be as firm as possible, and that's what's in the best interest of the party. It's not the American people, definitely not people who want to shrink the size of government. So
look at this. They take like 15 vacations a year. The Republicans right now are saying, we got bad weather. We got to get these people back into Congress. These people, I lived in D.C. You can't get a parking space anywhere when you go to Reagan Airport. It's all taken up by government cars. You got to park about 10 miles away to get a goddamn. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess we'll just cut that off there. He said a bad word. But I think I'm on the opposite end of that. I understand the criticism that they take too many breaks and vacations. And but actually, I wish they were in session less. I wish they would take more vacations. I'd wish they'd only meet once every 2 years like the Texas legislature does. All right, can I take John now? Yeah? Okay. John. Hey, John, you're on WBAP. You're in, does it say Kemp?
Kemp, yes, sir.
Man, out in East Texas. What's up?
Hey, listen to you every day. Enjoy your show. Get that out of the way. I've just got a couple of questions, and I'm just a regular guy that works, just retired, but I've still got another job. But anyway, got a couple of questions for you, and I'd like your opinion on it. All this stuff that President Trump has been saying about all these billions of dollars flushing in from these deals that we've made through trade agreements and everything. And do you think that will impact this big, beautiful bill as far as the not lowering or not balancing our budget? Do you think that will affect it any? All these companies supposedly coming back in, all the money that's supposed to be flooding in right now, will that help cover this in any way?
So so far, if I just look it up real quick while you were talking, we've taken in somewhere between $75 billion, and I see another estimate that it's $175 billion in tariffs this year. Here's another one that says $106 billion. So even if we take the high end and round it up, let's say $200 billion. Our deficit this year is $2 trillion. So that's going to knock out 10% of our deficit. So no, that's a drop in the bucket.
Do you think any of the other things that they supposedly having coming down the road in the next 2 or 3 years, is that not going to help any? I'm just asking. I really don't know.
Well, I can't predict the future, but I can tell you that I've heard all these exact same promises for over 2 decades, where we'll just make a compromise for this time and we'll get some of the wins that we want. And in the meantime, we just have to grow government, but we'll get to it in the future, and the future never comes. So either you put your foot down on growing government, or government's going to grow.
Right. Correct. Okay. Well, I appreciate your input, and thank you. And I listen to your show every day, and I love you, man.
Well, thank you very much. That's super kind. I know my answers were not helpful at all, but it's just sort of the wall that I've been banging my head against. As someone who wants to see a smaller government, this has not been an enjoyable process, watching every single one of these compromises result in big government. And then people say, well, you just got to compromise, James. How come they never have to compromise? How come government growing never gets compromised? All right, coming up next. My favorite hyperbole, Alligator Alcatraz is a concentration camp. I made a montage just for you. I couldn't find a montage out there, so I made this for you today. And I just watch this and I smile so much. Listen to how much these people torment themselves with their own fantasy, their own hyperbole fan fiction.
On a tour of the concentration camp that he's building in Florida.
This looks like a concentration camp.
A large concentration of folks deemed undesirable by the government put in a camp.
What looks like an internment camp.
This is a environmentally destructive and spiritually poisonous prison camp.
This is like being in apartheid South Africa in the 1980s.
It will just be torture.
Where is our humanity?
It is a concentration camp.
Yeah, it's never a concentration camp when Joe Biden or Barack Obama has people in a detention facility, in an ICE detention facility. Wasn't that the damnedest thing when AOC went down here in Texas to some ICE camp? She was wearing all white. She brought a photographer with her where she was acting all forlorn and just so sad about the plight of immigrant children being put up in such inhumane conditions. Now, she was actually staring at a mostly empty parking lot and wasn't allowed in to actually see that until later, but it didn't matter. We got the photo op. She didn't care. No one cared that Barack Obama had built that facility and kept people there. It didn't matter that Donald Trump was just continuing that. And then, funnily enough, you saw the attention on the conditions of ICE detention facilities fall off the map for the last 4 years. And then they just rediscovered their interest in the conditions of ICE detention facilities. It's almost like they're not really concerned about it. They're just exploiting human emotion to make a political point because they can't stand on the merits of their own positions. Geez, is that what it sounds like to you too? Check this out. MSNBC last night was talking to some state senator from Florida who was acting like this is a concentration camp. This is literally a Holocaust. But listen to how just disgusted, like morally repulsed they sound by the idea of Alligator Alcatraz merch being sold.
You know, I mean, the sass here, true, yes, but when you look at this and you see the Florida Republican Party is profiting as well off of this, how so?
So they're selling koozies and T-shirts that say Alligator Alcatraz. So they're commodifying these people's lives.
Oh, you're commodifying the people's lives. They're turning this into a profit? Like we didn't just go through a month of your ideology's merch being flashed in front of our face. Like you guys don't sell T-shirts. Like you guys don't ever have some sort of catchy woke slogan on a shirt. Really? I see you guys wearing the shirts at your rallies. I see you guys all get matching shirts when you go into like a city hall public meeting, or I see you all wearing your little T-shirts when you go and interrupt some congressional hearing and y'all got to get taken out one by one because you start shouting the people down at the microphone. Yeah. Oh, that's so awful. They're making Alligator Alcatraz merch. Yeah, that sounds funny, actually. That sounds pretty cute. I kind of want one now. I looked at the design. I could do a better design. I'm thinking about making some Alligator Alcatraz merch. And what's wrong with profit? I don't know. These people, they make themselves miserable, I think. And I don't know. Do they enjoy making themselves miserable? The peak of Alligator Alcatraz hyperbole is when people call it a concentration camp. We might as well put an Auschwitz sign in front of it. Oh, stop it. Here's former MSNBC anchor Joy Reid, who still has her own little show somewhere, doing the concentration camp bit, and it's delicious.
And I will note that, we tried to forget about him, but Ron DeSantis is still governor of Florida. He took the Comfy Couch hosts on a tour of the concentration camp that he's building in Florida, in order to round up brown people, and throw them in a camp because he doesn't want them in Florida. Surprise, surprise, the economy of Florida is going to be severely harmed by rounding up brown people who, by the way, all over this country, Latinos are afraid to go to work. Anybody who is perceived or looks Latino is afraid to go to work. I know people who are not Latino, but they're brown, and so they look Latino to the naked eye, if you don't know any better, who are walking around with their passports. And even if you're not actually taken into custody, imagine being a brown person in this country right now where you can't even walk the streets without fear of being tackled by random people with masks on. That's who we are now. This is like being in apartheid South Africa in the 1980s.
What level of fan fiction, dystopian fantasy is she living in? Yeah, that's what's happening. We're just throwing brown people in concentration camps for sport. That's why we're doing it. We're not concerned with enforcing our immigration laws. No, we just love violating human rights, and we just stop it. It's so ridiculous. Like, you're not embarrassed to say that? Go find someone. There's probably a handful of Holocaust survivors still left. I interviewed one back in 2006 or something like that. And I don't think he would agree that Alligator Alcatraz is a concentration camp. I don't think he'll agree that a place that has, air conditioning and clean water and whatnot. Now, it'd be terrible if you sold Auschwitz t-shirts, but Alligator Alcatraz, you need to calm down. Well, these people say it, the thought leaders say it, the mindless automatons, the sheep out there, the people that don't think for themselves, they believe this. They think they're literally fighting Hitler. It's ruining their mental health. Their anxiety levels are through the roof. Here's a girl complaining about the concentration camp, Alligator Alcatraz.
I will be in jail if I see somebody wearing an Alligator Alcatraz shirt or any type of merch.
What?
It is a concentration camp. And using that language matters. It is a concentration camp, and we're acting like it's an amusement park. It's disgusting.
No, it's a detention facility. It looks kind of normal to me. In fact, when they go on the inside, it looks a lot like the detention camps that Obama set up in Texas, the one where AOC went and cried. It looks like the inside of that. Yeah, it's like a big pavilion with a concrete floor, and there's chain link fences that sort of delineate people's rooms or cells or whatever you want to call them. And they have just a standard cot for a bed, and it's not luxurious living, but it's well lit, it's safe. It has air conditioning. It's I don't want to say it's nice, but you didn't have any concern. You weren't calling these concentration camps 6 months ago. You weren't calling them concentration camps. Now all of a sudden they're concentration camps. What changed? Detaining people? What about Delaney Hall in New Jersey? Any congressman go visit it before Trump got in power? No, not even last year. You just got concerned about it now? Well, if that's the case, if the timing is that stark, if it's an issue when Trump's in power, but not when Obama or Biden's in power, then it's an issue when Trump's in power again, then you don't really care about the condition of the detention facilities. You're exploiting perceived human suffering. You're lying, exaggerating human suffering to make a political point. Now, why are you doing that? Because it works on a lot of people. Worked on this girl who just said she's going to go to jail if she sees someone in an Alligator Alcatraz t-shirt. That's a really dumb reason to go to jail. That is not logical. That is not rational. You are not helping the cause. You are now making yourself into a crazy person who is doing illogical things. Why? Because you need to stop listening to the people on TV. You need to stop listening to the people that were wrong about Hunter Biden's laptop, the people that were wrong about the origin of the coronavirus, the people that were wrong about whether or not that boxer was a dude. They're wrong about this too. You need to stop listening to them. You're driving yourselves crazy. And if you don't know any MAGA people or people from Team Red, guess what? We're not all secretly Nazis who think concentration camps for brown people are a good idea. Maybe we just want to enforce our immigration law. How crazy is that?
The James Show Podcast.